Jason, if you grew up in the 80s, there's a better chance you remember your local carpet jingle than your third grade teacher.
Absolutely. I could order carpet from them right now.
I don't remember long division, but I do remember guys screaming about half price sofas like his life depended on it. We're going to talk about local commercials. You mentioned it. It's on the week of the Oscars. They celebrate sharp photography and slick editing. And we're gonna flip that mattress over and we're gonna look at the VHS days of commercial.
It's funny because you and Mark back in May, you guys did the what I would consider VHF commercials,
Right.
the ones they showed during Falcon Crest, and the ones they showed during Dallas or Monday Night Football or any of
Right.
those. Nope, nope. At 3:30 in the afternoon when the Thundercats are on on channel 25, 34, or 43 in the
Right.
city of Oklahoma City, what are you gonna get?
We're calling in the right hander from the bullpen to mop up here.
That's exactly right. We gotta go with some guys that are good enough. So there's no digital recording. This is no recorded in Dolby and no recorded in stereo. This
Right.
is somebody with their VHS over their shoulder, saving a few $100. So
I like to set the stage for the youngins. I know we have some listeners that are a younger demo. And look, they don't have anything to compare this to really. There's some radio commercials that older millennials remember, of course, and the TV commercials, but now they're hard to find. I haven't watched a commercial in forever. I watch everything from the DVR and just scroll through them.
I ask my kids, but the way that they consume everything is in 8-second TikTok bits now and
Right,
YouTube
right.
shorts. So they don't get those commercials, and whenever they do get a commercial on a YouTube video, they can hit the skip. And so they
Okay.
watch, the first 10 seconds of something that, I asked my daughter, I'm like, what commercial do you remember? The only one they remember is the JG Wentworth 877 cash now. So the only thing our children will ever do, they will never call someone in 20 years from now, they will be able to get a predatory loan. They won't be able to order carpet or insurance or any of those things. They're just going to be able to when I die and I leave them a financial windfall of $90, they're going to be able to get a loan against that until the check shows up. That's the only thing they're
Yes.
going to be able to do. So
So earlier this week, when I told you what this episode is going to be, I sent you a Facebook post I had from 4 years ago. I'd rather burn my vehicle to the ground than give it to that kid charity and that stupid song. And that's just kind of how I feel. That's my commercial from now that I know,
yeah,
but that's slick and that's a modern commercial. We are talking Saturday afternoon monster movies on Channel 34. The
yep.
screen's kind of fuzzy, or the late night movies, you have the volume real low so your parents don't wake up. And then out of nowhere, a local commercial comes on and they are screaming like they're in an empty airport hangar. And it's filmed with worse than a cell phone now, just like you said, over the shoulder sort of camcorder.
The big marshmallow microphone, wind noise, picking up wind noise. Yeah, oh yeah,
We're talking about local commercials today, not the good ones. I don't know if there were any, the important ones.
that's right. The ones we remember.
So, like I said, monster movies, public access, weirdness, low budget ads running every 7 minutes or so. And it was the same commercial over and over. No national polish, just local businesses, one camera, and owners. That's the cool thing. Like owners, like I pay the rent here. I'm gonna make a commercial.
That's exactly right.
You get to see the guy.
Yep. You get to know who you're doing business with, and they'd work their grandkids in every once in a while if they needed a cuteness factor.
Oh my gosh, the Broadway Ford, that little dude on the
That
bull.
I I wonder that's 40 years old. I wonder what he looks like now. Is he still cute? Would he still sell a car? Broadway Ford's long gone, but
I know.
I loved that commercial.
Yeah, so you're right though. Everything now is sleek, targeted, algorithm fed. Back then, it was a guy yelling about tires, and you figure it out. Like
That's
there's no
right.
rhyme or reason.
That's exactly right. And it's funny because I used to think when I was a kid, I'm like, that guy probably lives here in town. A lot of times, some of those guys were flown in. I told you that Brahms Ernest P. Worrell. I was convinced we launched that guy. I just knew
Yeah,
he was milking cows inside of Brahms one day, and that he said something funny. So
there's a big Nashville dairy. I think several out in the Midwest and California. It was a dairy association that dug him up somewhere, and all these regional dairies had him, and that was their local guy. Wink.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just floored me because I started looking up and I'm like, well, I just assumed Jim Varney was from Paul's Valley or someplace like that, and he came up, or Tuttle, and we discovered this guy and launched his career. No, there's an ad group out of it. I think it is, maybe is in Tennessee, that ended up getting a hold of him, and lo and behold, we got 9 movies out of the guy. Ernest Saves Camp, and Ernest Goes to Camp, and Ernest Saves Christmas, and Ernest 2. Say
Yeah.
it. Say it.
Thank
Ernest
God.
2, what?
Electric Boogaloo?
Of course. I teed it up for you. I put it right there. Gen Xers know it's every number 2 is
Yeah.
Electric Boogaloo. So
There's no doubt. So that's the thing. So we had him. He's a near miss. Everybody considers him as a local guy, but
yeah,
we had, and look, I'll set the stage here with Oklahoma City, and we'll start there. It's a national show. Every local market had these guys. We got, what I used to call the Mattress Brothers.
of course, everybody called them the Mattress Brothers.
They always sat weirdly close together. It had that Osmonds meet Oklahoma oil money kind of feel.
Yep. And just made you think in a way that everybody bought $1,000 rugs regularly.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're just selling this stuff.
When they bought those rugs, they had that gold nugget pinky ring when they did it.
Yeah, just a glimmer in their eye and a pinky ring on their finger, just letting you know.
Right.
You're right here, and they're just a little bit up from you.
I'll freely admit that. Cleveland County trash. We'd go over there, buy Whitewater, and buy furniture every once in a while. Every once in a while, not often.
We would, and we'd walk in and look up and go, dang. So that's what you
Yeah.
have to do when you're from the South Side and you go into a place like that. So
Right. You didn't have to have a jacket there. They didn't
Nope.
give you a jacket at the door, but you needed to have shoes.
That's right.
So we had car dealerships. Everybody had car dealerships, and man, we're going to hit that today. We have the Trust House couple that would hold their diamonds under light late at
Yep.
night on Channel 34 after People's Court, and just kind of wiggle it a little bit so you can see those gorgeous facets on that diamond ring. Just come up
That's
to the
right.
Trust House.
Oh my word. And you know what?
And that-
Because you know who their target audience is? People that are up late that don't have to go to work tomorrow. We're not
Right.
we're not in the market, or kids that are sneaking their TV under their blanket.
You want to get this $12,000 pear-shaped solitaire while you're discussing whether DeVry or ITT is a better choice.
That's
for you.
exactly right. You're like, that VCR repair school looks like it's something I might be interested in.
So every town had their one guy. Our one guy was a chick selling car stereos and home stereos, VCRs, and she screamed about it, and stores all over town, and she made a mint.
She did. Her and her husband jumped in, and I again, being a nerd, they opened in 75, which I didn't remember them that young. Of course, I was 2 years old, but 75, and they had stores in Oklahoma all the way through 93. I had no idea.
Linda soundtrack for those uninitiated. But again, every town had their version of that.
Yep.
Overacting, bad, terrible audio on these things. The jingles made no sense. The graphics looked like they were built on Etch-a-Sketch, but we're talking about it now in 2025. We still remember them.
That's exactly right. She was probably dressed up like a chicken. I remember she had kids, and I thought her real name was Linda Soundtrack.
Well, listen, were you stupid? Like, this is the third or fourth of these. Like were there paint chips at your house? What's going on?
I'm a simpleton, and I think people should know that by now. I am absolutely comfortable with who I am, but I was shocked when I looked up what her children's name were. I just knew they were Sluggo, and
Yeah.
she had 2, Sluggo 1 and Sluggo 2. So I knew for a fact that those kids were. I'm like, what are they doing now? They're not lawyers, because nobody's opening up that glass door to go, okay, I've got to go see Dr. Or Dr. Sluggo, or my dentist Sluggo. They're David and Richard. We didn't know their real names.
Right.
David and Richard. So I was just wildly disappointed that there weren't 2 Sluggos running around, because I typed it in, and her last name's not even Soundtrack, for crying out loud. It's Veris, Veris.
Jason.
So I know.
Next, you're going to tell me that hunk of cheese dude was just a cartoon.
Did you ever try to make the orange juice, where you pour the orange juice into the ice trays and make your own popsicles?
Yeah, of course.
It was a disaster. The nastiest thing I've ever. Yeah, it was absolute garbage.
Yeah,
Absolute
but
garbage. I don't trust any. I stopped trusting guys like that after
I
this. So
stopped trusting wheels of cheese with 10-gallon hats after that.
I've never hankered for a hunk of one in my entire life, and I ain't gonna start now.
Yeah, there's no reason to. Yeah, I've done that. I think everybody tried that.
But it should have worked on me, obviously, because I'm out here swallowing everything that Soundtrack's trying to sell me. I never went to a Soundtrack store. My parents were. This is going to blow your mind, but we're Montgomery Ward people. We don't do all that flashiness. We
Really?
didn't go. We're not cinephiles or audiophiles. You know, we've spent a lot of time not trying to be any type of files in our
Right.
family, and
Yeah, good policy.
right. And so, you know, we didn't go. My parents never had a giant TV. We never had these huge,
Yeah,
you
same
know.
here.
I'll never forget going to a kid's house one time, and he said, "Hey, um, I'm going to record off this Van Halen cassette for you." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll be quiet." And he's like, "No, you don't have to be quiet." They had a dual cassette, and they'd bought it at
Oh,
Soundtrack, and I just looked at it like, I don't know what's going on here. I joked in the last episode that we did together that there's times in your life when you realize, you know, there's other classes of people. That was one of those days where I'm like, you didn't have to butt up two tape recorders to each other with the microphones and just be perfectly quiet. It was
right.
amazing.
I did an
Uh,
episode. How you found the show was the Diamond Ballroom. A guy
Yep.
named Ross Wood who worked there, and his grandpa built the place. I was over at his grandpa's house one day, and they had a TV. It's like six
Wow.
foot tall, and I remember thinking, "What? Only the four richest monarchs of Europe can afford this television."
Yeah. Yeah. Who does this? My best friend growing up, they always had a big screen TV, and I'd come home just disgusted at my parents' house. We
Yeah,
had a 19-incher. We didn't even have the big Levitz one from back in the day that had the 8-track player and the record player in it. You
dude,
know,
our TV was furniture. It was a big brown piece of wood that sat on the floor, and the black guys were kind of purpley. Everybody said the color was kind of off.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I said it before. I'm colorblind. I didn't care, but
yeah. No, we were just not into that, and I'm still not really. You know, I go to Best Buy and go well, of course I'm blind, but you know that I look, you know, go now and I'm like, I don't need that gigantic whatever, but it was cool to see other people having those things when I was a kid. That cassette, I remember having to pay this kid $5 to record off cassettes for me because at my house we just didn't have things like that, and we weren't really into that. But you know, Soundtrack, they came on at a perfect time because everybody's car audio was began to be a big thing, and home audio began to be a big thing, and cassette players and boom
what did you
boxes.
what did you pay a kid $5 to record?
All right, dude. No, this is here the $5 wasn't just the cassette. I would buy the good Memorex one, and you know the one I'm talking about. It was
I
clear.
do.
And he would also make a copy of the liner notes and the you know, outside and fold it where it looked like a legit cassette. But
Yeah.
I'm not proud of this one, but Slippery When Wet. He made that one for me.
Wow.
I know. I know. That tells you a little bit about me. Cinderella. Uh, he was probably in my class then.
Was it Nine
Uh,
Songs? That's a great album.
it was a great album.
Yeah.
And anyway, so there was a few of them like that. You know, my
Weren't the
parents,
cassettes new like $6?
I don't know. Probably.
Like no, at a record store.
Well, but I could get he'd do a few for me at a time for
Okay.
$5. So,
All right. That
and
makes sense.
he was a sweetheart of a dude, but and he's actually the one he went the extra mile to fold everything and make sure that I had the liner notes and all that kind of crap, because you couldn't have me out there singing the wrong words. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
the
you
type
can't
of
have
guy
that.
that believes that her name's really Linda Soundtrack. You can't
Yeah,
have me out singing like an idiot. So
that's a great point.
I had to
So
wait for the world to know. So
so
anyway,
Jim Varney was not an Oklahoma thing, but turns out every city had their own lunatics with these cameras, and but some of them snuck out, like Empire, like I talked about earlier.
yep, 588
If
2300.
when I was 9 years old, if I thought about flooring, which was probably not often, that song came to mind.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Crazy Eddie, New York, Cal Worthington, the guy out in LA, Random Animals, selling cars. So sometimes they would slip out. They would just become part of culture.
Yep.
The local commercials became shared culture. But for example, like superstations, WGN and Turner. Turner leaned towards national spots. WGN acted like people in Denver may want a quote for carpet from some guy in Skokie.
Yep.
They didn't care. They treated it like a local UHF channel for years. That's why if you didn't live in Chicago, but they were selling carpet to guys in Cook County, but it didn't matter. I mean, kids in Ardmore that were getting ready for school that
Yeah.
knew they could throw those ping pong balls
Oh, you kidding me?
into those buckets better than those losers they chose.
You give me those
But
archway cookies after bucket number 1, I'm in. Anyway,
the last one had a bike.
it did, and a $50 bill, a crisp
Oh, dude.
$50 bill in the bottom
I
of
was
it.
getting ready for school as a kid, and I'd see those imbeciles throwing the balls like into the crowd. Like, I
Yeah,
could get
I
them in
know.
the bucket if that clown would just call my name.
Dude, we practiced on the odd chance. We didn't ever go anywhere east of Shawnee, but if we did, we were, we lined the buckets up and we practiced, and you just knew it. I'm money. If I'm
Yeah.
ever called on to do this, or it ever becomes an Olympic sport, I'm the guy.
I tried it too.
Yep.
At paint buckets or something, I had to hit the
Yeah.
lid.
Yep. Brilliant.
Listen, your Shawnee line, the fifth Beatle here at the podcast, Greg Reeves, the guy that does the stats.
Yeah.
In the 8th grade, the teacher asked, "What's the farthest north you've ever been?" We're talking about geography, and he said, "The men's department at JCPenney at Quail Springs Mall."
That's hilarious. But hey, we weren't big travelers. We'd go stay with family, so I get that. I
Yeah.
don't know what they want from people up there. That's where Coslow's Furriers was up north. I had no business going north of Reno.
Yeah,
They wear fur coats up there that aren't made out of rabbits. So I'd go into Coslow's and I need something in your finest varmint.
So
There was nothing
your
here.
finest varmint. So I want people right now to scream at their iPhones or Alexa or whatever they're listening to. We had the Oklahoma Legends, but I've gotten some notes earlier. I put this out on social media. Who was your city's guy? Send them in, man. I want to know what it was like
Yep.
outside of Oklahoma City. I know they had the screaming furniture guy, the jingle that's permanently burned into your brain. I want names, clips. I want to hear it all.
Everybody has them, and they're probably, some of those guys are still on there.
I called up Mark, the old radio DJ. I said, "Hey, Mark, this is a local commercial show we're doing this week. My sponsor slot needs a 1980s over-the-top local commercial." I sent him a rough copy of what we need to do. This is what the dude made for me.
You want a deal, Free Nights and Weekends listeners? Frequent co-host Mark Boucher letting you know we're all going to the DigitizeCenter.com to digitize all our family memories to digital. They digitize photographs, reel-to-reel, cassette tapes, slides, VHS tapes, Betamax, even 8mm. They do it all. Don't let your family memories degrade in the closet or in your attic. Put them all on a thumb drive, CD, or stored in the cloud and share it with extended family and relive your family's great memories from the past. Free Nights and Weekends listeners get 60% off with coupon code FREENIGHTS at checkout. That's the DigitizeCenter.com and offer code FREENIGHTS to get 60% off your family's memories preserved today. Pony rides, free hot dogs, balloons for the kids, face painting, and 60% off. Head on over to the DigitizeCenter.com with free offer code FREENIGHTS. Pony rides, hot dogs, balloons, and face painting not included.
Again, if I talk like Mark, I wouldn't shut up.
Yeah, I told him you said that. Yeah. If somebody's ordering pizza, I'll do it.
That's right.
And just shake the rafters with that deep, pleasing baritone.
So who are your favorites? Which ones, when you were, could you count on to be entertaining?
I wanted to see how Paul Made Insurance was going to show that number. Is it going to shoot cans that shows them on the bottom?
I love
Is a
it.
dog going to drag up a newspaper that has the ad? I don't know, but I'm ready to. If it's going to interrupt preseason football on Channel 34, which for some reason showed preseason NFL games on a UHF channel.
Yeah.
Or the Dracula movies, or there's just those terrible Channel 25 and 34. If it's gonna bother to interrupt that, I want some entertainment. So yeah, if Linda Soundtrack's gonna dress up like Rudolph, bring it.
That's right. I was shocked to find out Paul Mead is not claymation. I'm just kidding. He's a real guy, but I don't know. I'm just continuing in my hey, this guy's an idiot. But I loved him. They were great. He had the dog and the
Right.
Accidents and tickets too. Call and we'll take care of you. 524-1541. I can order insurance right
How
now.
ingrained is that? I don't know if they've had an ad in the last 20 years, but
I have not seen
there's
one.
a 15-year swath of Gen X kids in Oklahoma that can jot this number down for you on a napkin if you need it.
When we're in our homes, our memory care facilities, that's the type of crap that's coming out. We will be able to order carpet. We'll be able to buy some insurance.
Yeah.
We'll be able to do all the terrible halfway semi-famous local we'll be able to order from those restaurants, all those.
I remember the ones where they just kept yelling, "This weekend only," for like 11 straight years.
Mhm.
Everything was always 70% off. Nobody blinked. All the urgency,
Yep.
the production value with 0, but the confidence level was like 1,000%.
And it was always something that Flag Day, our Flag Day sale, and you're like, nobody celebrates Flag
Boxing Day.
That's exactly right. Come get a Canadian bacon.
Right.
What are you doing? Nobody celebrates any of President's Day sale.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, nobody does
Arbor
any
Day
of these.
savings this weekend only.
It's May
One of
Day.
my favorite
Yep.
stories about this is I was bored in my parents' car at a dealership in Norman, Oklahoma, eating a hot dog that they gave away from a little hot dog stand there for anybody that's, if you're within the sound of my voice, come on and get these hot dogs and buy a car. So they gave it away. I was in the car listening to the radio. I was probably 11, 12 years old. There was a commercial for that car dealership on the radio station, and the clip sounded like a madhouse. Like, you'd better get down there. My parents and one other dude were the only ones in that lot looking at cars. It was a 9-to-1 salesman to customer ratio, and it sounded like the stock market after it opened on that commercial. Like, it was mayhem. And there's a dumb looking 3-legged dog sitting out there, and no tumbleweeds, no customers.
Do you remember the name of the outfit? Are they still
I think
around?
It was Ferguson.
Was it really? Well, they're still
in
around.
Norman.
Yeah, they're still on the mile of
Oh
cars
my
in
God.
Norman. But you know the one though.
I'm so grateful to have you on this episode. Let's talk about Oklahoma City's car dealer, the little dude with the 6 shooters on the logo, Lynn Hickey Dodge, which my parents bought, I think 3, but maybe 4 cars from. And so much so that I joined the Facebook page Lynn Hickey Dodge Alums because I paid a lot of their bills, and I just wanted to see what they were up to.
That's fantastic. My wife, her very first vehicle she bought right out of high school. She had saved up some money and had a full-time job all through school and needed a car. And they were the only people that could get her financed because now it was probably 30% interest rate. And we went in and paid, $400 a month for a few months on a Dodge Shadow, but we were able to later on go and refinance it and get a decent interest rate. So they could get it done. Now, was there some sketchy business going on? Maybe.
Well, but if you need a 1981 Celica and you've only got 200 down and your bottom line budget is $300 a month, finance it for 8 years.
He's not coming down from that crane until he sells 3,000 vehicles this month.
There was a tower, like an old,
what
was like an old National Forest Guard tower, like watchtower in Norman on Main Street. And that dude stayed up there for, I think, 72 hours until they sold enough cars. I always wondered, why is anybody buying a car there? Let him starve.
Right. Well, and why do we care?
Right.
He's up there in a conversion van. He's coming down. Good grief. That dude's not up there for 72 hours. Where's he going to the bathroom? I had all the pertinent questions, but it was hilarious. There's a lot of people I knew that bought cars there because, again, like my wife, that they could get some squirrely financing done. And I went down a rabbit hole on Reddit one time of Lynn Hickey Dodge stuff. And this mayor, I don't want to tell this story, and potentially if they come back, I don't want to blow the sponsorship deal for you, but there was a hilarious story about how these salespeople, you would go in, and I don't know if you remember this or not, they, under the guise of valet parking, they would take your keys. Do you remember this?
Yes.
They would let you in one at a time. They had the the gate, somebody working the guard shack. They'd lift up the arm, you'd pull in. You could not back out. Your tires would get popped. It was a safety deal, they said.
Yeah.
So then somebody would take your car, drive away with your keys. Anyway, you'd go in, they'd say, well, do you find a car? Sure, well, let me get a copy of your driver's license. According to this Reddit post, they would take your driver's license, they would run your credit without your permission. And if there were children with you, they would hand out different colored balloons based on credit worthiness. Which, depending upon where you are, if you're a guy that works at car dealerships now, you're like, that's a great idea.
Oh my
And you
God.
can have that. But to hear that now, just go, oh my word.
You see a kid walking around the parking lot there with an ill-fitted Power Rangers shirt on that his parents got at a yard sale, that
That's right.
Weiler's drink dirt ring around his mouth.
You know it wasn't Kool-Aid.
Yeah, he's got an orange balloon, and that's orange for a reason.
That means hold up. Yeah, take this guy over to the other car lot.
Oh my
And so
Lord.
that was brilliant to me. It made me laugh out loud.
I really hope that's true.
I do too. I don't, and I do. But like we talked the other day, I choose to believe everything I've ever heard about Lynn Hickey Dodge is true.
Gosh, I can't imagine why Carvana is so popular. It's a vending machine. I just remember sitting at a stoplight in Denver, Colorado in 1991 or 2 and seeing a Lynn Hickey Dodge logo on the back of a Chrysler Reliant K and thinking, there's a little bit of home right there.
That person overpaid for that.
That person and his crappy kid might have gotten an orange balloon. Certainly not red.
I'll bet he paid for the Scotch Guard on the seats and the undercoating for when it snows.
He would have been. What was the high end Dodge Chrysler? The Dynasty.
LeBaron? Dynasty. I know there was that was a Chrysler LeBaron, right? The Dodge Dynasty was a smaller one. Wasn't that what we drove in driver's ed?
No, those were the Diplomats.
Oh, okay. Dang it.
The Diplomat drivers' kids had orange balloons. The Dynasty drivers' kids had red balloons. Depending on their color coding, I assume red's the top, but might have been white.
Green means go. I don't know. I don't know what they were based on. I'd love to hear it if there's still a guy out there that would even divulge it.
My dad bought a minivan from them. They bought, my mom had a sedan from there, and he bought my sister's Ford Escort from there and traded in her Charger. It wasn't the cool Dukes of Hazzard Charger. It was an early 80s. Like, they all looked the same.
I remember those. Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
So I remember I was sitting in the office when my dad did it, and the salesman said, or the finance guy, whatever, they were trading that in. And he said, so if contacted, would you be confident in telling someone that this car you're trading in is a good automobile and has to cause you no trouble? And my dad said, I don't think so. That's why we're here.
Yes, this is a perfect vehicle.
So my dad said, I don't know if I'm comfortable telling them. I'll tell them what's wrong with it. And the guy had this look, like his eyebrow raised. He said, all right, they probably won't call. Like,
That's brilliant. It reminds me of when we were at our dryer quit. So we put it out by the curb because there's always the junkers that come around. And like 8 people said, is there anything wrong with this dryer? I'm like, it works perfectly. That's why we put it at the curb. What is wrong with you? Why else is this dryer at the curb? This is just where we keep it. I'm like, no, it's broken.
Its expiration date's bad. Better safe than sorry. We're just going to go ahead and get rid of it before it breaks down. Well, you can upgrade in car. If you take good care of your car, you can trade it into upgrade. She was buying a Ford Escort. So we're not really going up in car. So the guy had to know, that we stopped to put water in it 3 or 4 times on the way from Moore to, was it North May? Where was Lynn Hickey?
That was, 39th and May.
So here's the deal. I'm anxious to hear about what the local Boston guys or Savannah, I'm not going to name every city. There's a lot, though. I can name a lot of cities, and I'm pretty proud of that.
This is your Huey Lewis chance. Everybody hears their city, they get all excited.
That's a good point. Yeah. Seattle, San Francisco, too. So I can name all these towns. But here's the deal. I know they all had their own Linda soundtrack and their own guy selling insurance. And, Houston's Mattress Mac that grew into a national thing. And so, that all exists, but we grew up in that era, just, from the 50s and 60s, where it had, a leading source, a guy sitting on a desk explaining the reason to buy their insurance or whatever.
A Cary Grant looking guy. Yes.
To just this madhouse that we grew up with. We're immune to yelling. because of that.
We are.
Limited time offers mean nothing to us. And we could smell that fake urgency, man, from a mile away.
Another one that I was thinking about, do you remember the jewelry store? They'd get anybody approved. Who was that?
Oh, yeah, that was a little after our high school years. I was in college. I remember seeing those ads. What was it?
Yes. Oh my word.
It had
I
that
shouldn't have.
it had that dork on the horse.
You know what? Here's the name of this is credit jewelry. I don't know how I couldn't think
That's
of that. Just
right.
credit jewelry. And you know it's fun because you know what happens when these commercials would come on, it was always those 25, 34, 43. And you know what I'm watching? I got home at 3:30. I turned those on because I'm watching the Thundercats because I'm 13.
I get
The
it.
only people watching that are 13-year-olds or people that should be at work. We need to know, where can I get a predatory loan, a car with no credit check,
Right.
or some jewelry with no credit check so that I can, the gal I met at the Rhinestone at 59th and Shields, I got to get her a ring.
They were advertising what they could afford. Thundercats ads were probably $30 for a 30-second spot. And then, if we're gonna watch the Cambers lady blow on her furs, then that's what they can afford. And they'll tell they hope they tell their parents.
That's right. Yeah, Cambers was not that wasn't them wasn't Thundercat folks. Those are
No.
Thundercat folks. Again, they need some jewelry that's going to prove to old girl that they're going to stick
Yeah.
around at least till that paternity test comes back. So
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the Cambers folks they didn't watch Hee Haw on Saturdays because they were at OETA watching. Oh, that's the truth. So look, I wouldn't trade it. Like late night monster movies to local legends screaming about sofas to us talking about it. What 40 years later?
That's right.
Completely ridiculous, but a perfect time to grow up. Thank you so much for being on.
Thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
Hey, if you grew up before everybody carried tiny video cameras in their pockets, chances are your best memories are sitting on a VHS tape somewhere. Birthday parties, backyard wiffle ball, maybe even that first camcorder Christmas morning. Well, here's the thing. Those tapes don't last forever. That's where the guys at the Digitize Center help out. They convert your old VHS tapes, camcorder tapes, reel-to-reels, photos, slides, cave drawings into high-quality digital files so you can actually watch them and share them again. Don't let your 1987 live-on tapes degrading in your attic. Head to thedigitizecenter.com and use promo code FREENIGHTS for 60% off your order. Go to their website, read thousands of 5-star reviews, and make that commitment to preserving those memories digitally. Remember promo code FREENIGHTS for 60% off your order and bring those family memories and milestones back to life before they're lost forever. I didn't want to tell you this because the last time you were on the show, you sat patiently while I was reminiscing with you about how great it was to get those books.
I know, you jerk.
And then you laid it on me that was unique to me because you didn't get to smell the sweetness of that new ink. So I didn't want to tell you during the show that in the 9th grade, I got my first CD player from Soundtrack.
The 9th grade?
Yeah.
Were you guys billionaires? Dude, I was 20 years old when I bought a CD player. 20 years old. Were you 13, 14? That's crazy.
Yeah, I got it for my birthday, and my sister got me Eat 'Em and Smile from David Lee Roth on
that's
CD.
fantastic.
On CD. No, she got me Boston. My sister got me the first Boston album, and then at that crappy outlet mall that was on I-35 south of 19th, I bought David Lee Roth's Eat 'Em and Smile with lawn mowing money.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was looking at CDs, and you were playing in your refrigerator box Clubhouse in the backyard.
That's exactly what I was doing.
Exactly
what I was doing.
Know your place, Dean.
You know I do.